Hey guys, alright, today we are back with some Epic History TV. This time, the First Crusade, part 1 of 2. Yeah, I used to know a decent bit about the Crusades. I don't anymore. When I was younger, I was big into the more traditional medieval history. But as you guys know, I am a Anglo-Saxon historian now. So, yeah, that's where all my information's at. Not here. Not so much anymore. Let's see if I see how much I do know and what we learn. The First Crusade. And of course in partnership with Osprey Publishing. Lucky bastards.
In the Middle Ages, Europe and the Middle East were divided between Christian states, or Christendom, and Muslim states. They were uneasy neighbours, and frequently at war. On the front line, the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire, the major Christian power in the Eastern Mediterranean.
At this time.
But in the 11th century, a powerful new force emerged that threatened its very survival. The Seljuk Turks, originally from Central Asia, migrated south, converted to Sunni Islam, and carved out a great empire for themselves. In 1071, at the Battle of Manzikert, the Seljuk Turks inflicted a crushing defeat on the Byzantine Empire. They went on to conquer most of Anatolia. Cities such as Nicaea and Antioch, rich in Christian history, fell to the Seljuk Turks. In 1092, the great Seljuk Sultan Malik Shah died, and his empire began to fragment.
As
the
do empires
Byzantine
just always
Empire
do.
came under renewed attack as local warlords sought territory and plunder. In 1095, Byzantine Emperor Alexius I Comnenus wrote to Pope Urban II, making a desperate appeal for military aid from his fellow Christians in the West.
Mr. Pope, I know we have our differences, you know, that whole schism thing, but there's these people that they worship the same God, but they still have different beliefs, and they look different than us, so can you please help us? Kind of what the difference, there's really not, it's the same God. It's Islam, the biggest difference is Muhammad, is that the belief that Muhammad is the prophet. They're the big three religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they're kind of the same. They just divert at different points in time. Judaism, of course, is Old Testament. Christianity is New Testament, and Jesus as the Son of God. And Muslims do have Jesus. He is a fairly important figure, I believe, if I'm remembering correct. But he isn't the prophet. Muhammad is the prophet. I believe that's how it went. I believe that's the difference there. Because Muhammad, the key prophet, Jesus is there, but he's not the prophet. Cool? Kind of. A little bit. That's obviously an oversimplification of thousands of years of religious history.
It wasn't the first such appeal by the emperor, but this time the results would be unlike anything ever seen before.
Deus vult? Crusader Kings 2 flashbacks.
Pope Urban saw the emperor's appeal as a golden opportunity, a chance to heal the rift that had emerged between Western and Eastern churches in the Great Schism.
Oh, that was only
to assert his
1054.
own
I thought it was a bit
papal
older than
authority
that.
over the unruly barons and bishops of Western Christendom, and to drive back the infidel and reclaim Christianity's most holy sites, most of all Jerusalem, lost to Muslim rule 400 years before. At Clermont in France, Pope Urban preached a sermon to a gathering of clergy and nobles. He called on Christian knights and foot soldiers to go east, to aid their brother Christians and free Jerusalem from Muslim rule. And he offered a unique spiritual incentive. Whoever, for devotion alone, not to gain honor or money, goes to Jerusalem to liberate the Church of God, can substitute this journey for all penance. He was offering Europe's knights, who lived in fear of damnation because of the violent lives they led, the chance to atone for their sins through holy war. What's more, their objective, Jerusalem, was a city that captivated the medieval imagination like no other.
Back then, it's just
the
crazy.
Most holy place on
It's
earth.
just ridiculous how much power that one
The Pope's
dude had
offer exhilarated
over the
his
minds
audience. His words were met with cries of
millions.
Deus vult, Deus vult. God wills it. God wills it. The Pope's appeal was preached across Europe, sparking a wave of religious fervor. Thousands of lords, knights, and ordinary people vowed to travel to the Holy Land and fight for Christ. They identified themselves by wearing a cross, later becoming known as Cruce Signatus, Crusaders. A few of these men saw opportunity in the East for fame and fortune, but overwhelmingly they went in search of spiritual salvation, willing to undertake a long, expensive and perilous journey to save their souls
Oh yeah,
from the fires
oh
of
yeah,
hell.
it was expensive. The People's Crusade.
Pope Urban had intended the crusade to be led by nobles and made up of knights and experienced soldiers. But the viral success of his appeal led thousands of ordinary townsfolk and peasants to take the cross, many inspired by a French priest known as Peter the Hermit, who became leader of this so-called People's Crusade. In the Rhineland, some of these crusaders, fired up by old prejudices and talk of holy war, attacked local Jewish communities, slaughtering around 5,000.
This is gonna piss some people off. Oh, those Catholics and always finding a way to blame the Jews.
Men, women and children.
And of course it's in Germany.
And extorting money from those they spared.
Or what is now modern day
These
Germany.
massacres were condemned by the Church, but to little effect. In the summer of 1096, the People's Crusade, 20 to 40,000 strong, made its way east.
But it's just
the main contingent, led by
there's
Peter
no
the
way
Hermit,
they survived the whole
traveled
trip.
along the river Danube.
There's so many of them, and I doubt they have the food.
But they were ill-disciplined and poorly prepared.
Yeah, as I said,
When they ran out of food in Hungary, they attacked and looted Christian settlements.
Oh, that's not very
They
Christian of you, bro.
continued to pillage the land of their supposed ally, the Byzantine Empire.
What the heck, dude?
When they reached Constantinople, the emperor quickly ferried them to Anatolia to be rid of them. In enemy territory, lacking discipline or leadership, their main force was soon ambushed and slaughtered by the Turks.
How'd I get the words right? I'm amazing. The Prince's Crusade.
Meanwhile, some of Europe's most powerful feudal lords were departing for the Holy Land at the head of their own contingents. They were much better armed and organized than the disastrous People's Crusade. They included, from Lorraine, Godfrey of Bouillon, with his brothers Eustace and Baldwin of Boulogne, Hugh of Vermandois, younger brother of the French king. Count Robert of Flanders and Duke Robert of Normandy, son of William the Conqueror. The wealthy Stephen of Blois. From Provence, Count Raymond of Toulouse, accompanied by the Crusade's spiritual leader, papal legate Adhemar of Le Puy.
Those names, though.
And from southern Italy, Norman lords Bohemond of Taranto and his nephew Tancred. The various contingents converged for their agreed rendezvous at Constantinople. Together, they formed a huge army, perhaps 60,000 strong, probably the largest seen in Europe since the fall of the Western Roman Empire.
Yeah, I'd say so.
The Byzantine Emperor Alexius had expected to welcome a small force of Western mercenaries who'd serve under Byzantine command. But the giant Crusader force that began arriving in December 1096 made him nervous and distrustful, particularly the presence of Bohemond of Taranto, who'd spent much of his life attacking the Byzantine Empire. Alexius gave the Crusaders money, supplies, and guides, but only after their leaders swore oaths of fealty and promised to return all Byzantine territory to the Emperor, not keep it for themselves. Only then were they ferried across the Bosphorus into Anatolia. The Crusaders were a mighty military force, particularly the armoured knights, who made up about a sixth of their strength.
That's a sizable
portion. But they'd have to adapt rapidly to the heat, terrain, and hit-and-run tactics of their Turkish enemy. In their favour, the Islamic world and the great Seljuk Empire itself was badly divided. Its Turkish governors, or atabegs, were busy fighting each other, as well as the Shia Fatimids of Egypt. None of them was prepared for the First Crusade, or had any real understanding of its strength or aims. The Crusaders' first success came at Nicaea, which fell after a 6-week siege. But the city surrendered to the Byzantine forces, cheating the Crusaders, as they saw it, of their rightful plunder. It was a further strain on the delicate relations. You're not supposed to be there for plunder, between Crusaders and Byzantines. They began marching inland through intense summer heat in 2 columns, a vanguard under Bohemond of Taranto and rear guard under Godfrey of Bouillon. Near Dorylaeum, Bohemond's vanguard was ambushed by the main Turkish army.
Music is intense, Bray.
Based on Crusader chronicles, this is our best understanding of how the confused fighting unfolded. Bohemond,
ooh, I like that inclusion of
he was
camp
about
followers.
To be attacked by a large force of enemy cavalry,
they need to be included
sent
in
an
armies
urgent message to the rear guard, asking for assistance. Then he formed up his knights and ordered his infantry into a defensive formation behind them, protecting the camp followers. The Crusaders came under attack from all sides, facing a hail of arrows from Turkish horse archers, as well as javelins and hit-and-run strikes from their faster light cavalry. The knights were driven back onto their own infantry. Over several hours, losses mounted, but the Crusader line held. Meanwhile, Godfrey was racing up with the rearguard to join the battle. Troops were fed into the fighting as soon as they arrived. On the Turks' left flank, the Crusader advance was hidden by the terrain, so that they appeared suddenly, threatening the Turks with encirclement. When the
Nice.
Christian knights all charged together, the Turks panicked, turned, and fled.
God, that's such a good animation. Ooh.
It was a major victory for the Crusaders, and allowed them to continue their advance across Anatolia without serious opposition. At Heraclea, they defeated a small Turkish force, then split up.
I never split up,
Main
bro.
force
Never
struggled
split up.
through the mountains of Cappadocia, losing many of their baggage animals and running dangerously low on supplies. Meanwhile, Baldwin of Boulogne and Tancred, probably out to seize land and plunder for themselves, travelled south into Cilicia, capturing the city of Tarsus and other settlements. Tancred later rejoined the main army. But Baldwin was invited by local Armenian Christians to travel to Edessa, where he was soon installed as Count Baldwin of Edessa, ruler of the First Crusader state.
That happened fast.
In October 1097, the rest of the Crusaders reached Antioch, the next stepping stone on the road to Jerusalem. But outside its walls, the First Crusade would come to the brink of disaster, decimated by disease and starvation, and encircled by their enemies. It would take a miracle to save them from annihilation.
Dun dun dun. Leaving on a
Research and
cliffhanger.
artwork for this video.
Heck yeah. Oh man. I knew less than I was expecting. Well, the stuff that they talk about isn't really stuff that I would know about. Which, you know, it is good because that means I'm learning new things, which is always nice when it comes to history. But yeah, I love Epic History TV. I got no complaints. I have no complaints. You can't complain when it comes to Epic History TV. They're just good. They're just amazing. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Leave a suggestion down below for what you want to see me react to next, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.